Alright, so you're not getting my face because I'm not having a good hair day, basically. I look like I have a horn on the side of my head. I need to get in the shower and make it go down, but I can't be bothered to do that before I record, so fuck it. You're just not going to get my face today. So, this is probably going to be the first of many videos I do talking about DND slash Pathfinder slash whatever. But I want to talk about how I run games, generally speaking, which is a very loose style that doesn't. Basically, my mindset is no matter how much you plan for it, no matter how much you try to plan for every scenario, your players are gonna find the one you didn't plan for. So, why bother planning much? Basically, don't do more work than you absolutely have to. Have a plan and be prepared for that plan to get thrown out the window because I assure you the players will try. If your players are anything like mine, at least they will. Um, Always assume that the encounter isn't going to be as hard as you think it is, or that it will never go how you think it's going. Never assume something's going to go a certain way because it almost never will. That's the other big thing. Basically, plan for things not to go the way you want them to. Because a good chunk of this game is luck. Let's be honest. Yeah, skill help, but if the dice aren't on your side, then you're shit out of luck. I also will mention this because it's important for videos I'm going to do in the future. I am a very homebrew DM. I make my own worlds. Tend to I tend to use homebrew monsters or modify already existing stat blocks. I have a binder full of that sort of thing. So I'm probably, when I tell stories especially, I'm going to mention monsters you've never heard of. Assume I invented it. Assume I've stolen it from something else, or generally speaking, if it's a modified stat block, I will tell you that, but just bear in mind that just because I say troll might not mean the D&D troll that you're used to from the monster manual. A good rule of thumb to prevent metagaming is don't be predictable. If your players have a habit of metagaming, go away from anything they know. Don't use things that they know. A good example is using the Norse mythology troll instead of the D&D troll. But that can be applied to a lot of things. I also generally do not run adventure modules as I just don't have any fun with that. I like to make my own shit. I'm too creative to run something that's already there. I might steal the idea, but by the time we get to the end of it, it's not going to even remotely resemble what it was originally. I'll say this for a simple fact as well. If it exists, my general rule is I also have the general rule of if there's a rules debate, you err on the side of the players. Generally speaking. There are obviously exceptions to that rule, but generally speaking, if there's a rules debate and no one can point you to the correct answer, err on the side of the player. It's probably pretty good advice in general. It'll generally make your players happier. Also, you need to understand before I ever tell stories, our games are not taken super seriously. It is lighthearted. We joke. We have fun. We joke and snack and play. The game is the excuse to hang out. It's not really what we're focused on necessarily. Hell, there have been occasions where we have gone off into a whole side conversation and lost 20 minutes because we were talking about some bullshit. Again, you're going to hear a lot of stories, but the point is, I am not someone who takes D&D, Pathfinder, any of that stuff seriously. I'm not the DM Slayer. I'm not AJ Pickett. I don't take this shit that seriously. It's an excuse to spend time with my friends, and that's all it is. I run the game because I have the patience to run the game. And really, that's the only reason I'm running the game over someone else. It's because I have the patience for it. Whereas most of my friends simply do not. Unfortunate truth of the matter is you need a lot of patience to run a game, and most people don't have that kind of patience. Especially not in this generation, but my problems with the current generation aside, and their need for immediate gratification. People. That's a rant for another day, though. Screw it, I'll tell this real quick. If you're expecting good advice, don't. Because I'm probably not the person for anyone who's going to take the game seriously. I'm the person who will tell a funny story. I'll tell you a funny story, and I will lay out the lore of my world for you, but I don't take the game that seriously. The game is just what we're doing. It's not important. We can do whatever. As long as we're hanging out, I don't really give a shit. Also, you have to bear in mind that usually there is alcohol involved, so that is also a thing that contribute to the fact that the game isn't taken all that seriously. It's very hard to have a serious game when half the people end up drunk, end up intoxicated to some level. There's a piece of advice for you. You want a serious game? Don't bring alcohol into it, because the second you bring alcohol into it, any pretense of a serious thing is going out the window. I can tell you that right now. Ba ba ba. I'll also give you this piece of advice too. Never bring crunchy food. It's distracting. Go for soft food that you can chew quietly. Also, if you can't chew quietly, you shouldn't be eating at D&D games. I'm just putting that out there. And of course, all the basic manners shit applies, but usually, if you want something specific, you bring yourself, otherwise you live with whatever I'm doing, with whatever I've got that day. And usually I will have snacks, because, yes, snacks are good. Because trust me, over the course of a 2 to 6 hour sessions sometimes, somebody's going to get hungry / thirsty. So, yeah. Bring your snacks, bring your drinks, because I tend to go long. When you play with me, you bring your snacks, because we go long. I also am a firm believer in the only thing a new player need to know is what a D20 looks like. Beyond that, D&D is learn by doing. You will get a much better player out of it if you do it that way, I find. It's just much easier. Now, if they go and learn the rules on their own, fine, but I never try and teach them the rules beforehand. My mindset is you'll learn better by doing. I will teach them how to. I will generally teach them how to operate a character sheet beforehand, somewhat beforehand, at session 0. But other than that, they learn by doing. With me, you learn by doing. Because trying to explain the rules to people, I found people have a hard time comprehending it if they don't just do it. Especially with D&D. Now, you can say that for a lot of shit, but D&D is definitely one of those things that's a learn by doing. You're going to learn a lot better habits if you just learn by doing. In D&D. You're also going to get a much more interesting player out of it. Because they won't get hung up on rules. On what the rules say you can do. And will just try shit. In my experience. Because the problem you have when you teach them the rules first is a lot of people get hung up on that. And don't try and be inventive. Whereas if you let them learn on their own, they're going to be much more inventive. And you're going to end up with a much more interesting player in the long run. At least that's my experience. Of course, your mileage may vary. It depends on, again, how seriously you take the game. And I don't believe you should be playing D&D super seriously. To be perfectly honest with you. I just don't. I think if you're taking the game super seriously, you're doing it wrong. Because let's be real. D&D can be fucking stupid. Stuff like this is fucking stupid. Let's not beat around the bush here. You're fighting God knows what in a pretend world. It isn't something that should be taken super seriously. And I just don't take it that way. I don't think it's healthy to take D&D super seriously. Now, I also have a lot of homebrew subclasses and a couple of homebrew classes that we use in my table because why not? Especially now, since we're not going to be buying any of the new content that comes out. If you know, you know. If you don't, go watch the video I uploaded before this. And you'll learn. But yeah. So that's what you need to understand. Is I don't take it seriously and I'm very homebrew. So yeah, ta-ta.